To understand the impact of all of this in terms for staffing companies, employers, we have Lohit Bhatia, President, India and Global Operations at Quess Corp, to talk to us about that. Thank you so much, Mr. Bhatia, for joining us this afternoon. Let's just start by talking for Quess Corp or the industry, the staffing company industry as a whole. When you talk about it, currently the industry has around 65 lakh maybe workers, employees that come under that purview of the industry. Now, gig workers as such, when they come into this whole scenario, that is almost 1 crore, more than that, around gig workers. What does it mean for Quess Corp? And how will these changes actually work for staffing companies?
Thank you, and glad to be on the show. I think the first thing is a compliment to Government of India for finally announcing that we have an implementation roadmap, which came out on the 21st of November, just on this Friday. I think the important aspect that we need to remember as a country is there are many things which have been embedded in the code, which are pretty basic to everybody probably who's listening into your show today, which could be standardized employment offer, it could be payment of wages by the 7th, it could be healthcare, it could be other benefits like floor wages, like the Madam Secretary was just mentioning. But we must remember, what does India really make up of? We have 1.43 billion people. Of that, about 900 million are in the working age population. From the working age population, about 570 million is what we call as the labor force. From this labor force, you'll be surprised to know, as on today, only about 80 million were getting all benefits of all labor laws in the last 78 years. Only 80 million of the 560 million. So what does the balance make up? The balance is made up of informal labor market, which is almost 85% of India's youth. This could be MSME sectors. This could be gig, like you rightly said, close to about 1 crore people are there. This could be domestic workers, which is another 5 crore individuals. This could be construction workers, which is another 5 crore individuals. So it is an expansion of what was always intended to be done. However, it was rarely elitist in the sense that it impacted only 15% of the top corporates and employers. Now it impacts the entire nation.
Right. So, the other problem was that there was labor shortage. How much of that was on account of the lack of these rules? And now that these rules have come, do you think that problem gets assuaged?
Yeah, absolutely, Mangalam. So I'll give you an example of my own firm. We are part of the flexi staffing industry. We have about 5 lakh workforce deployed at 6,464 different towns and locations. We do about 40,000 onboards in a month. But every month we are able to do only about 55 to 60% of the workforce. We're never able to do 100% of the workforce. And the critical reason for that is that the supply and the demand side mismatch would be extremely aggravated in a country like India. In many ways, it would be better to be in the informal labor market and not be part of the formal labor market. Many of the institution, establishment and companies which were smaller in nature would also look at informal labor rather than getting formalized labor. What the labor codes have now done is it's made it one India, and everybody will have to address from part of that one India. It opens a much bigger supply side for companies like us. At the same time, instead of just working with 10,000 leading corporates and enterprises, it opens millions of other establishments that we could also, work with in times to come, including the gig space in the coming years.
Lohit, I just wanted to actually narrow down on the execution part of it and the impact that it could probably have in terms of numbers. For your company in specific, what would the possible impact be on the P&L, and when will it probably start showing, and how difficult will it be to possibly execute with regards to the new changes?
So first and foremost, we've been 18 years in the making. 9 years of that was in the startup space, and the last 9 years have been as a listed company. We became, almost at the same time that we became a listed company 9 years ago, we also became the market leaders of the flexi staffing industry as far as India is concerned. While we are number 1 in the country, we are number 4th in the world. So the first aspiration that we have internally is how can an Indian company become the global largest? So that's the first aspiration that we set for ourselves as this market opens up and as this market broadens both from the demand side as well as from the supply side. The second thing to your specific question on how ready are we? Like I just mentioned, Quess already has the largest workforce in terms of 1,200 recruiters fan out there every day finding new talent. We have customers who have deployment with us at 6,464 locations and expanding. We have demand which outstrips the amount of supply that we are able to give. But the technology that we started putting into place almost 8-9 years ago will augur very well for this expansion which can happen. I'll just give you one thought on technology. 9 years ago, we created something called paperless onboarding process. Today, flat in 7 minutes in a multilingual language, we can do onboarding for any worker as per the requirement of Government of India, the principal employer, as well as Quess Corp. And this can be done flat in 7 minutes in a language that you understand anywhere in the country. So that's the impact of the technology that we've created over the years. We don't think that the extra demand which will come in front of us in the times to come will be an impediment for us, given our scale, our reach, our size, and the tech that we have behind it.
The newer startups, I mean, the likes of, the Swiggies of the world, etc., the kind of feedback that we've got is that there could be near-term impact, but on a longer-term basis, things will smoothen out. You would agree?
So the gig and platform workers now are covered under the OSH code. This basically means that every gig company will have to part with 1 to 2% of their revenues and a maximum of 5% of what is the payout to each individual gig worker. Quess invested in a small startup called Taskmo in the gig space a few years ago. This is our time to take it to market in a much bigger way than we've been taking it in the last couple of years. Right now, we have some 75,000 gig workers or taskers, as we call them, which are registered with us. But nothing stops us now from scaling it up to a few million people. You're absolutely right that this will require each one of us to contribute that 5% towards what the gig worker is earning from us. But at the same time, this is also something which will expand social security for people who erstwhile never had these benefits. Yes, for a lot of large platforms, like you just mentioned, some of which are listed, who have millions of workers, maybe they'll have to relook at their business model as well and also see that how much of it can be as a platform for them and how much would they further want to outsource to someone else managing it better for them.
Absolutely, Mr. Bhatia. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, as well as giving us an understanding in terms of how these new changes in terms of labor law will impact companies, how it will go about in terms of process as well. Thank you so much for that. But on that note, we're going to step into a very short break. On the other